In today's episode, Laura and I will be discussing the silliness that man has believed for generations. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Oracle and the Warrior podcast. My name is Tina, and I am one of God's oracles.
And my name is Laura. I am one of God's warriors. Sound crazy?
Welcome to our world.
Tell me, Tina, what are we talking about? What is it?
Today, we are going to be discussing the silliness that man has believed for generations in life and in biblical scriptures.
Okay. We found some interesting ones.
You found some very interesting ones.
And of course, these are just verses or passages. It doesn't encompass the whole thing. But when, you ask a question sometimes and the Bible pulls it up, it brings up this little quote, or not quote, this little scripture. And some of them are like, what?
So, Laura, you want to start us off with the first one?
I will start with number 1, Deuteronomy 23:1. No one whose testicles are crushed or whose male organ is cut off shall enter the assembly of the Lord. So, first, what is considered the assembly of the Lord? Do we know?
I don't know the answer to that. Mm-hmm. I think that maybe we need to look that up.
Yeah,
let's look up. Yeah, if you will look up.
And why is somebody? Are they talking like? Well, no, its testicles are crushed. Male organ that's cut. I'm thinking they're referring to maybe.
Male organ is penis.
I know, but like the
circumcision. There you go. Katie Mason, you are our first listener today. Thank you so much for coming on and listening to us. I promise you some giggles and laughs today. Basically, if I understand this properly, right? No one whose testicles are crushed. So if somebody is in a horrible farming accident.
Yeah. And apparently as it continues, it says no one born of a forbidden marriage can enter the assembly of the Lord. Even down to the 10th generation. Uh-oh, I might be screwed now. That's 10 generations. That's a while ago. Hey, I'm not responsible for what they did.
So again, I do have some issues with a few things in the Bible, right? Yes. I do not believe that the God I know is going to hold me responsible for things my mom's done.
Yeah. So it says that it's an assembly of persons met for worship or religious instruction. So I'm guessing to church, they can't go into church.
Really?
Do they check physically?
I'm sorry, you're going to have to show me your penis and testicles and let's make sure nothing has been cut or crushed and then you could come in.
And maybe it goes back to the Jewish faith that their males are supposed to be circumcised in order to get into their church? Maybe?
Again.
The
God I know is not going to say, if you were in a horrible smelting accident and your genitalia has been burnt off, I'm sorry.
Let's shame you even more.
Let's shame you.
You can't come to church.
I'm not buying that one at all. I'm going to read number 2. This is actually quite humorous. Okay. So Genesis 38:8. Then Judah said to Onan, go into your brother's wife. Go into?
That's what she said.
Okay.
Yeah. Go into. I'm making the hand gesture here. Go into.
Oh. Go into your brother's wife and perform your duty as a brother-in-law to her and raise up. Oh, okay. I know what this one's about. Because remember, he died. The brother died.
Finish the quote.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
And okay, I'll start over.
Yeah.
Then Judah said to Onah, go into your brother's wife and perform your duty as a brother-in-law to her and raise up offspring for your brother.
So what was that one about?
I mean, this is very gross, but...
Josie
Grossy. In this, what happened was his brother died, and what they were saying was, you, as the brother, it is because you're not married, it's your responsibility, your duty to now marry your brother's wife and have children. But
gotcha.
What
if the chick doesn't want the brother?
Well, and the thing is that I my brother-in-law, gross.
Pass. I don't have one brother-in-law.
I mean, my children would be orphans.
Yeah,
because I would have to remove myself.
I really like this next one, and I don't know the full context. And anybody that does and is very knowledgeable, please feel free to chime in. We're just, I pulled off some bizarre biblical quotes. Okay, so next one is Deuteronomy 25:11-12. Two men
Sorry.
A man and his countryman. Okay, so your husband and my husband
They're
are
brawling.
struggling together,
They're
right?
brawling.
And you, and it says, and the wife of one comes near to deliver her husband from the hand of the one who is striking him. So you came out there and you're helping Terry.
Right.
And you put out your hand and seize his genitals.
So I grab Lance by the balls.
You grab Lance by the balls. Then you shall cut off her hand. You shall not show pity. Don't touch my balls, woman.
That was written by a man.
Yeah,
There's no ifs, ands, or buts.
Is that like because of an emasculating thing? Like, oh, a woman came out here and took over the fight, you know?
But if that person you're struggling with is your brother.
Uh-oh.
And he kills you.
Yeah.
She can touch his genitals now.
Okay. But he won't be able to go to the assembly of the Lord. Because it's crushed. His genitals were crushed.
Well, she has to be gentle because she's the wife now.
Oh, that's right.
Oh, my.
So, yeah,
I'm having a hard time with this one.
And, you know, they say it's the word of God and you know, these are all, of course, Old Testament.
Right. Which, but just FYI, was written by Catholic priests.
Were people that, oh my goodness, like God said, don't touch his balls or you're in trouble.
If you want to chop his head off with an axe, you're good.
Eye for an eye. But
you're
touch a man's
good,
genitals.
But do not touch his genitals or you will have your hands removed.
What if she... Never mind. That's not allowed on this platform.
So next one, Ezekiel 23:19 through 20. Yet she increased her prostitution, remembering... Oh, is she touching people's testicles?
Yeah, probably.
Okay. Yet she increased her prostitution, remembering the days of her youth when she engaged in prostitution in the land of Egypt. She lusted after their genitals as large as those donkeys.
Those of donkeys?
Those of donkeys. And their seminal emission was as strong as that of a stallion.
She longed for those days, really?
Wow.
It says she longed for those days. I don't think I'd long for those.
And I very much doubt that she did.
Yeah. I mean, I've heard of stories like, you know, in Texas when they crossed down to, what was it, Boys Town?
Okay, come back up. Come back up over the border. We're not, other side.
There was a donkey show. Okay, was she longing the day?
Back on the other side of the border. We're back in the United States
now. Fine. Well, yeah, this was overseas.
But the thing is that, again, written by a man.
Yeah.
Because no
women lusts after genitals as large as those of donkeys.
No. And not only that.
If you are a female on here and you...
Stop right now. Sorry, Laura's in rare form today. But here's the thing. How I know this is written by a man, right, and a priest, is because there is no woman who is just sitting around going, you know what? I really enjoy sex with random people where I have no choice.
I long for those days.
I long to have sex for money and no control or free will over my own life, right? I'm going to be a prostitute. Win-win. And especially back in these days where prostitutes, I mean, not that they're treated fabulous now, but even back then, oh my goodness, it was horrific. And she's longing for that?
Yeah.
The show with the donkey down across the border? I mean, come on. Yeah. I'm not buying that one.
So let's move on. Where were we? Okay, Samuel 18:25 through 27. Then Saul said, "Thus shall you say to David, the king desires no bride price except for 100 foreskins of the Philistines.
What?
That he may be avenged of the king's enemy." Now Saul thought to make David fall by the hand of the Philistines. And when his servants told David these words, it pleased David well to be the king's son-in-law. Before the time had expired, David arose and went along with his men and killed 200 of the Philistines. And David brought their foreskins, so he got 100 more than he asked for.
Wait. But if he took their foreskins, that means they can't go to church.
Well, they're dead.
Oh, okay.
It doesn't matter.
Okay.
Which were given in full number to the king. So he's got a little shrine with some foreskins up there, I guess.
He's got like a little bag of foreskin. And really, how do you prove it's foreskin?
Do they become like chicharrones after?
I don't know what a chicharrón is.
The little pork skins that you eat. So
stop it. Stop it right now.
Maybe it was considered delicacy.
Stop it. What are they gonna? They gonna like serve it at serve it at the wedding as an hors d'oeuvres? Oh, that's a lovely foreskin.
So because of that gesture, Saul gave him his daughter Michal, or however you pronounce it, for a wife.
Huh. I mean, I've heard of dowries before, right?
Yeah.
But never foreskin dowry.
Yeah, and again, I think this goes back again to, the Jewish thing and the foreskins and all that, but to either the translation is like so ridiculously off, or these people were freaking ridiculous. I'm sorry. Like, go forth and bring me the foreskins of all you're dead.
That's just disgusting.
Yeah.
All right.
Ay, ay, ay.
My turn.
Have
Exodus 4:24. Now it came about at the lodging place on the way that the Lord met him and sought to put him to death.
Yeah, like the Lord has to come down and meet up with him.
Right, because the Lord can't like the Lord has to, he can't just like
Meet you on the corner.
meet you exactly where you're at. He's got to like sit and wait around for
Yeah.
you, right? And also if he sought to put him to death, like really I'm thinking
Yeah.
he could snap,
Blink of an
right?
eye. So, anywho.
Okay. Then the Zipporah took a flint and cut off her son's foreskin. What is up with the foreskin? And threw it at Moses' feet. And she said, "You are indeed a bridegroom of blood to me." I don't even know what any of that means. All I know is she's cut her poor son. How old was he?
Yeah.
Like he's like 25. He's just chilling. He's sitting there talking to, these like little maidens and stuff. He's trying to, and mom just goes over and whips
With
up
a flint.
whips up his loincloth with a rock and says, "Hey, I need this."
But I mean,
And she threw it at would
Yeah.
that be considered like an act of war to throw foreskin at someone's feet?
God forbid it touch your toes.
Oh, gross.
A lot of foreskins going on. So yeah,
What
again,
is the
I don't know if
obsession?
these translations are like totally off, and they're not like people interpreting this stuff. Like, and the people that were translating this are going like, "Does that what that means?" I'm like, I'd be like, "No, it can't be."
Okay, give us another one, Laura.
Leviticus 20. And again, these are all Old Testament, but come on. And if a man shall lie with a woman having her sickness, I'm assuming her period, and shall uncover her nakedness, he hath discovered her fountain.
Okay, keep going.
And she hath uncovered the fountain of her blood, and both of them shall be cut off from among their people. So I guess you can't have sex when I know from recalling that like you in the biblical Old Testament, you're not supposed to lay with a woman that's on her period because it's disgusting.
So if he discovers her fountain and she has uncovered the fountain,
Yes.
then both of them cannot be around decent humans.
Yeah, I think they had like a time of cleanse, like they had like 24 hours that they had to like, and maybe it's just because back in those days, right, showers weren't abundant. So like you stink, go hang out for 24 hours somewhere. It's the law. I don't know. If anybody, like I said, has insight into the deeper meaning, we're brushing over these topics here. But
Again, the God I know.
would not. Yeah.
This is just,
First of all, we wouldn't have been given a menstruation in a period if it's meant to be, you are disgusting. For a week of the month, you are disgusting.
no.
Move on.
No.
Yeah.
And, if God's not imposing this, right? So if Leviticus, or I can't remember who that was,
Yeah.
but if they're not getting this direction directly from God, this is just their personal opinion of like, ooh, gross,
Mm-hmm.
then why is it in the Bible and being said it's God's word
Yeah, and being taught to children.
and being taught to
Yeah,
children?
so
Okay.
we've got a guest here, the Space Luchador. Hello, I've not seen you before.
Laura rolling her tongue.
Yeah.
Hello, what can we do for you?
Hi, how you doing?
I'm good. You got some insight on some of this for us? Because all this foreskin talk's freaking me out.
Well, I don't know about insight, but I do have you ever thought that maybe the foreskin is actually talking about a head?
No, like the skin of the forehead. Oh, that would maybe
Yeah,
make more sense.
yeah, like you were saying, the translation is
So
probably
almost like
off.
an Indian scalping type thing.
Yes, because I thought it was pretty funny that you said you could understand what the period meant, right? When she
Right.
meant, but that's because you're viewing it as a woman. So I figured if I view it as a man,
Well, thank
foreskin
you.
is
Very,
also a head.
very good insight.
So
That
did that mean they circumcised all these kids? The wrong thing?
no,
Yeah, because it
no,
makes
That was a joke. I'm just kidding.
no,
no,
that's
yeah,
very
and
good
I know.
insight.
It just makes no sense to have like you said a big bag of foreskins. However,
Exactly.
a head,
Thank you.
right?
It just sounds very creepy and weird and sexual. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but the head as a guy that's another head, for example. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we understand. Y'all think y'all got two of them to think with.
Yes.
Yeah, so
that's
maybe
that's
it
for a
was,
whole nother podcast.
yeah, maybe it was lost in translation. What it means is heads, because when you throw the head of somebody at someone's feet, that
Yeah.
means you conquered and stuff
Well, but
like
that
that.
would have
So
meant then that that mother threw her son's head at his feet.
you got to understand, back in the day, well, really back in the day, there was sacrificial kids, women, that
Right.
all.
Right. You're
So
absolutely correct. You're absolutely correct. That I think that while thinking of the foreskin as part of a man's genitalia was way funnier, I
yes,
think that you're probably a lot more accurate. That does sound like it makes a lot more sense.
Yeah.
yeah, or it could even be the straight up full. You know, what's the worst thing you could aside a man's head? That would also be one of the worst things you could take off from him.
His
You know what I mean?
testicles.
Yeah, and you know what? I'd rather they
Oh,
take my, but I'll take it there.
Just grateful you don't live in Old Testament times.
Yes, exactly. And the other thing is that the penis has always been seen as a sign of strength and all of that other stuff. You know,
well, by men.
especially back in the day.
Yeah, by men, it's been seen as. I'm just teasing. I'm just teasing.
No, yeah, I get what you mean. But also by women back in the day.
Well, apparently, testicles are really important too, because if a
Yes.
woman were to squeeze them, she would have her hand chopped off. So I don't know if you were on here yet for that one.
No, I just jumped in where you the foreskin part.
The foreskin. Yeah, one of the ones we read earlier said that if two men are struggling, and one of the men, his wife, jumps in, she can do anything she wants. Like she can chop their head off, she can do whatever. But if she squeezes the testicles of her husband's opponent, her hand must be cut off immediately and with no pity.
Okay, I see. Well, I think that's a sign also of not necessarily strength, but almost like there's certain honor in winning in a certain way, and you can't attack the actual. You know what I mean?
That makes sense. That actually makes sense. You know what? You're very
There's an
knowledgeable.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, he's like, yes, I'm a man. Of course I am. We're just teasing. We're just teasing.
No. Yeah,
So-
and like
No, I know.
I said earlier, we just pulled up, I was looking for bizarre biblical quotes, right? And these translations, because, you know, a person, you have this knowledge, and I would have dug deeper into it as well. But somebody just reading this going, oh my gosh, foreskins and heads and testicles and what's going on in Old Testament, you
So
know?
before your time is up, though, let's read another one so that you can give us your input, like right here and now. Okay.
Well, I could come back too.
Yeah, for
True,
sure,
true.
for sure.
So
Unless you're kicking me off.
no, we're not kicking you
No,
off.
we just-
Hold on. So
I'm
go ahead,
just
Laura.
playing.
Read
So
one for him.
this one touches a little close to this week's news. I'm going to read it, and y'all can attribute it to whatever
And
you want.
if we run out of time, please do
just
request to come back.
Yeah. So it's Kings 2:23. Then he went up from there to Bethel. And as he was going up the road, some youths came from the city and mocked him and said to him, "Go up, you bald head. Go up, you bald head." So he turned around and looked at them and pronounced a curse on them in the name of the Lord. And two female bearers came out of the woods and mauled 42 of the youths. Damn. It didn't go as to foreskins and all of that, but it's more of a.
So if you call someone bald-headed,
I mean, they were of course him,
Yeah.
just mocking in general.
Yeah. All right.
But they were able to make a curse in the name of the Lord.
At this time, Laura and I would like to give you a trigger warning. Our next guest has very strong views on women and what their place in society should be. I feel that Laura and I handled it very well, but it could be triggering to some people. If you feel like this will be triggering for you, please fast forward 5 minutes. All right, Space, you're back. What's your thoughts on that?
I heard of that one before, and I actually looked into that one before. Because before I answer that, I want to say that my whole thing is the man's point of view, and I think
absolutely.
that your guys' whole thing is the woman's point of view, which is why it's perfect. We're in a perfect situation here. We get both points of view, which is why I'm interested.
You go, Big Daddy.
Here we go. So I'm going to explain. That basically is about respect, which is what's lost today. See what I mean? So
Yeah,
all of
they
this-
had this
100%.
incident. They didn't call her
Right.
bald head, but they made a reference to her.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's all of these stories from the Old Testament. They're not at face value like people take them.
Correct.
They're analogies. That's
Got
what it
you.
is. all of these are analogies, and if you can see it, literally all of it is about respect. It's about
Yeah,
responsibility.
which is something that unfortunately our world is 100% lacking.
Yes, lacking
Is
responsibility, they're lacking strength, they're lacking everything that you're reading right now. That it seems funny, but if you think about it, it's actually it's bad to be a man now, and it was an extreme in the past. Does that make sense?
so
That's why.
yeah. Well, what I kind of because I see everything in balance of energy,
Hmm.
and in biblical times, the world was very much man driven. The woman was submissive. And I feel like, which I don't agree with, I think that they should be equal. I don't think women should be above or beneath. I think it should be equal, right? But then over all of this time, the world has been becoming more and more female dominant, right? And
Yes.
a lot of men get a bad rap. And, my daughters who are in their early 20s, we have this conversation constantly, which is they'll say, well, of course a man did this, or of course a man did. And I will tell them, stop. Because let me tell you something, I can name 20 women off the top of my head that would do the exact same thing. And when we talk in absolutes of this is a man trait, you're wrong. And what you're doing is exactly what was happening back then when women were persecuted. How
Hmm.
about if we just say, let this individual take responsibility for his behavior instead of labeling it because of his race, his religion, his gender? How about if we just say, this human being, that's bad behavior, and I choose not to allow that in my space? Because the authority to judge doesn't reside on the earth, but we are allowed to decide what we let in our space. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, and that makes perfect sense. But it goes, and it's a good thing that you brought up the other bald head, Will Smith's bald head, and not
Yeah.
his. But if you look at that, and this, let me see if I could explain it right. But back in the day, a long time ago, it was about kingdoms. There was a lot of respect. There was family. Um, it wasn't like today where everybody gets a say, and no,
Right.
especially in relationships, and that's part of the problem. Well, that's why back in the day it was like that. Where I know to women, it seems like women were being prosecuted. What was that word you used?
Persecuted.
Persecuted.
Persecuted. But I don't think it was necessarily like that. I think it was more of a. I'll give you an example, right? Like in a kingdom, the the king's biggest weakness is actually the queen. You see what I mean?
Yes, but not everybody was kings and queens.
No, yes, but if I'll give you. But the ones writing this stuff were at the top, you could say, right? Which is why
Right.
they were writing it, right? So if you think about it as in that sense, with if the if the woman was given just free range to do whatever she wanted, and like you said if make that individual person responsible. You see what I mean? So back then, whatever she did would affect the king, which is still true today, but people it's a taboo now, which is what the whole incident with Will basically reflects. You see what I mean? Am I explaining it right, or am I kind
No,
of losing you?
I totally get
Well,
100%.
again, if you want to come back, just request.
I totally get what you're saying, 100%. I don't necessarily agree 100%. You're going on the premise that the queen is the king's biggest weakness because you're assuming that he loves her. And so he's going to do whatever he needs to do to protect her and to take care of her. And unfortunately, was not always the case. It wasn't always the actuality of it.
Yeah.
And I say, watch King of Thrones, and then and then we'll talk.
Oh, Game of Thrones?
Or Game of Thrones, what I say, King of Thrones,
Yeah.
yeah. Anyways, But we do need to move on with our little sillies here.
Yes.
So let's
We
see.
were here. You can read that one, Deuteronomy.
So Deuteronomy 28:27. May the Lord strike you with Egyptian boils and with tumors, scabs, and itch for which you will find no cure. Wow, that's rough. The only thing is that I do know, and I obviously do not claim to be a scholar of any form. I know that there is something in there somewhere where it says that we are not supposed to curse people, right?
Yeah, I mean, and whatever you
That sounds-
send out a curse.
That sounds like a curse.
And not only that, asking the Lord to impose this curse on them.
Yeah, not your neighbor, but the Lord himself.
Yeah, please, Lord, come on.
Just to do, that's just not nice.
Yeah.
That's just not nice at all. And I'm not okay with that.
I'm not okay with
Okay,
that.
so we're going to go with some funny ones now.
1 Samuel 28:7. Then Saul told his officers, "Find me a woman who can talk to spirits of the dead. I'll go to her and find out what's going to happen." So there's a little analysis after that. It says in this chapter, King Saul is without his prophet Samuel and is about to go into a big battle. He's scared and wants guidance, so he asks his men to find a witch to conjure up the ghost of Samuel. Interesting that all the witches are women, right? Huh. Saul had previously tried to kill off...
no, witch, not bitch.
Yes,
Okay,
yes,
okay,
yes.
go ahead.
Yes. Saul had previously tried to kill off everyone who spoke to the dead, so he goes to the witch in disguise. When she brings Samuel up, he looks at Saul and says, "Why are you bothering me like this?" The ghost chat, it says, is successful, although most churches take a do not try this at home approach to this particular chapter of the Bible. Yeah, and I remember, as I've said before, growing up in the Catholic Church, it was always very no. They were like, don't read astrology and don't go to palm readers and energy healers and stuff like that. I don't understand 100% why, but...
So this is basically what they're saying is like, this is one of those don't try this at home kids kind of thing.
Yeah.
Leave it to the professionals. The professionals who have killed off every witch. Okay, I gotta make this point, right? King Saul has killed off every single one of the people that he is aware of.
So it's like beginning time Salem, right? Like old time Salem.
So I've killed off everybody that does this job.
Yeah.
Oh crap.
I need one.
Now I need somebody to talk to a ghost. I'll just go in disguise so nobody knows that I'm a hypocrite.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's fabulous. Okay. So
here, this one's fun.
So Proverbs
Terry won't be happy.
Proverbs 31:6. Let beer be for those who are perishing, wine for those who are in anguish. So if you're dying, or if somebody is dying, hand them a beer.
Hand them the cheap beer.
Yes. But
hand
if they're in pain, then give them wine.
Give them wine. Give them vino. And that's interesting. So yeah, I would be fine with that one.
Well, yes, because you drink wine.
I drink wine. I do not drink beer. But and again, it's like I don't understand the full context of it. But it's what?
Yeah, exactly.
Why?
Exactly.
Go ahead, read the next one.
John 21:25. Jesus did many other things as well. If every one of them were written down, I suppose that even the whole world would not have room for the books that would be written. Why is that funny?
I don't know. Maybe because he did so many things that I don't know.
Okay. Well,
go to the dailydot.com and we can discuss that.
Okay. So
yeah, Judges 4:21. This one gets a little brutal. Just like what's your name? But Jael, Heber's wife, picked up a tent peg, and a hammer, and went quietly to him while he lay fast asleep, exhausted.
Oh.
She drove the peg through his temple into the ground, and he died.
Again, why is that funny?
I don't know. And they have a little image. Of course, y'all can't see it. There's an image of a woman just like, and she's with a friend, and the friend's behind her going like, "Do it."
Okay, so I think I think we need a funny joke.
Yeah.
Real quick. Okay, so I'm going to tell a joke.
Tell it.
Okay, so there is this bird. This guy, he had a bird and a parrot, and he was just a foul-mouthed little thing. Like, I mean, he was just Absolutely. Foul mouth little bird. Anyway, so the man says, says to the bird, he's like, look, Thanksgiving's coming up. My mom's going to be coming. You can't cuss in front of my mom. Like she's very religious. She goes to church and she's going to freak out if you are cussing. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And the bird's like, kiss my ass. And he's like, that's what I'm right there. That's what I'm talking about. You cannot talk like that in front of my mom, because she'll freak out. And he says, no, kiss my ass. And so the guy gets really flustered and everything. He throws the bird into the freezer and he hears the bird squawking and kicking around and everything. And then all of a sudden it just goes dead silent. And the guy's like, oh my goodness, I just killed my bird. Oh, and so he opens it up and the bird comes walking out and walks down his arm and looks at him and he says, sir, I feel I have been rude and disrespectful to you. You care for me. You love me. You feed me. You take such amazing care of me. And here I am being disrespectful to you and about your mother. And of course I will mind my manners and change my ways. And the man's just sitting there looking at this bird like, what in the hell? And all of a sudden the bird looks at the man and he says, would you mind, sir, if I asked what the turkey did? Okay, that's
He's
a
a
good
smart
one.
bird. He's a smart bird. So
Trigger warning, that same gentleman will be on one more time for the next 5 minutes. Please feel free to fast forward if you feel that will be triggering for you. But this is the last time he will be on our podcast. So,
okay, here we
oh,
go.
there it goes. It's working now.
It's working. It's El Luchador is back.
Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, there we go.
I thought for a second you were like not wanting to get me on, but nah.
We're having some technical difficulties. Us women.
Okay, so you said I did see Game of Thrones, by the way, all of
Okay.
it. So what do you mean by the Game of Thrones thing?
Well, just the women had no rights. They were to do as they were told to do. They were married off to who they had no options.
Yeah. Till the end, till Sansa and all of them kick ass. But at the beginning, yeah.
So
I don't know if that's a good example because the end of Game of Thrones sucked.
Well, no, not the end itself. Just when Sansa
okay.
comes back and she takes her stuff and feeds her a little abuser to the dogs.
Yeah.
No pity there.
So while I 100% understand where you are coming from, and I will tell you this, when my husband and I got married, tomorrow is actually our 27th wedding anniversary. When my husband and I got married, and we were told that I was having a really hard time with, because I do very strongly about being equals, right? And I was told that I needed to be submissive to my husband, that like I needed to defer to him.
Through your church, correct?
Through my church,
Okay.
correct. That I don't go to anymore. Anyways, I had such a really, really hard time with that because I'm just not a defer kind of girl, right? And there in 27 years, I am glad that we did that we made that agreement that if we ever came to a space that we could not agree on something,
You would grab his testicles and get your hand cut off.
that I would grab his testicles. No, I can grab his. I can't grab anybody he's fighting with.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Sorry.
That I would defer to him. And that literally in the 27 years we've been married happened one time. And at the time I was livid because I knew that I was right and, that I was making the right choice, and he just knew that he was making the right choice. And it literally came down to, okay, I either defer to him or we get divorced.
Yeah.
I deferred to him because I had made that promise in that very beginning that if that ever became an issue in reference to our children, it was in reference to our children, that I would defer to him. Here we are probably 20 years later, 15 years later from that event, and he was 100% right. Don't let it go.
I was going to say, hold on, are you admitting this?
Don't let it go to your head, baby. It was the one time you were right in 27 years, but he was right. And so I do agree that there has to be especially like in a relationship with children, there has to be a space where someone defers. But I think that has to be a last resort. And like I said, 27 years, we've done it once because we are partners.
Yeah. But that's the thing about the partnership part. It's that there still has to be one that makes the decision for the better good of all of them, which is what
So
all the
in a
testament.
business, a partnership, there has to be one that's more dominant.
No, that's a business. This is a relationship.
So you're
There's a
talking just
difference.
personal.
Yes, a business is always going to be non-personal. That's why it's called professionalism. It's a business. I'm not
Okay,
here to
you said
do,
it in
you know what I mean?
partnerships, they should
Yeah.
be equal. Okay.
Yes. So when women say the whole partnership and I want my partner, it doesn't work. It doesn't work because of that reason. Because they don't seem to differentiate or actually divide both of them. You know what I mean? They're trying to make it the same thing. We're not running a business. This is
Can
a
can you
relationship.
explain? Can you explain a little bit more on that? I'm not.
Yeah, I think I'm not understanding.
You're not understand. Well, the difference between a relationship and a business, you mean,
No, no,
or a
no,
Oh,
no,
no, no,
no.
partnership?
no,
You
no.
said in a personal relationship that you said they, as referring to women, are not
Women,
understanding, and I didn't understand.
guys either, because it's a partnership. When you say a partnership, it doesn't work because, like you said, they have that same.
I don't know. I believe I have a pretty good partnership
I
with my spouse. I don't, and maybe both of us, one of us thinks one of us is more dominant than the other, but we haven't admitted to either. I don't know.
no, Lance knows
Is there?
that. Lance knows you're in
No, no.
charge.
Is there a possibility of a 50-50, or is there one that's more dominant and you just because it might be me and said I'm the top of the little chain here, that we wouldn't be married. And
This
if I
is
went to him and said, "Hey, I'm top of the chain, I'm final word," we wouldn't be married. So I don't know where that line is divided or where it's visible. Like, how do you know?
right.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It can't be 50-50 because one of you at some point is not going to honor the 50-50.
Well,
See what I mean?
I had a very, very wise man, God, tell me one time. He said that relationships are not 50-50. He said that they're 100 and 100 because there will be days that you are 0 and your husband will have to be 100. And there will be days that your husband is at 0 and you will have to be 100. I believe that is a 50-50.
That sounds like a partnership.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? That is a partnership. My husband at no point in our marriage other than that one time, and it was I conceded to him because it was about our children and it was a legal matter that we had to come to an agreement on for our children. Other than that, in, like I said, 27, we've been together 28 years, we've been married 27 years. There has never been a time that my husband and I couldn't come to an agreement. And that's a relationship. That is a loving relationship where he does not see himself as above me and I do not see myself as above him. I am really good with numbers, but I cannot spell. He is excellent at spelling and horrible with numbers. Where I'm strong, he tends to not be as strong, and vice versa. Where I'm not as strong, he is. And that's what, and I understand what you're saying about the partnership, right? But myself personally, I don't want to be taken care of. I don't want to, I want to make my own way in the world, but I do want to do it with the man that I love. And he's the same way. He wants to do it together and he has no interest in lording his penis over me
Over the castle.
unless of course it's in a sexual manner. He likes to do that.
The space luchador. Are you in a relationship at the moment?
Well, yeah, couple.
A couple.
Yeah, but
Interesting.
to I know what you mean, and I get it. It works for you and all that, but somebody has to basically, like you were using that word, give in, right?
Hmm.
But so the confusion here is when you say, well, is it what are you doing? Are you running a business? Which I think you guys are doing it like as a business, right? If you did for the like, for example, if there's no actual emotion other than you just thought about for your kids. See what I mean? Like sometimes I'll give you this example. In any relationship, a man wants his family to, or he has to do decisions for the better good of the whole family. From what I've seen, and even it seems to be coming out with your words, that you seem to want your own things, your own ideas, your own pathway, all of that. You see what I mean? That's where the
Does that,
confusion
does it
is.
bother you that I want that because I'm a woman?
No, it doesn't
Or
bother
does
me at
it
all.
bother you because I want that?
No, it doesn't bother me at all. But when a man that's in a relationship with you, I can see how it would bother him, or he would have to submit to what you want. See what I mean?
Sounds like
That's where it does.
you're living in Old Testament times.
So
No, no,
my husband would 100% disagree with you that
I bet.
I don't see I see us as above animals, right? Because when you have the ability to reason, I don't consider what I did as submitting to my husband. I deferred to him because it was an agreement him and I made at the very beginning that if that ever happened. But literally, that's happened once in 28 years. In every other situation between the two of us throughout the years, we have been able to come to a space of having, I give my opinion, he gives his opinion. And then we both discuss it and make the decision together. And sometimes we will talk about it for a few days and we'll research it together. But I think it is the love between us, his respect for me, my respect for him, that helps us to come to an agreement. Neither one of us want to be in a space where we're being dominated.
Yeah, we're not dogs. We don't submit to
Yeah,
one another.
I don't
Hello,
have to.
Catherine. Thank you
Hi,
for
pretty
joining us.
Catherine.
Hello.
It's good to see
Excuse
your
me,
pretty
I just got
face.
all choked up. So, yeah, I was pretty surprised, and I didn't get his name. I saw his title or whatever that was, but I didn't. I was surprised to
I,
hear him speaking like there has to be the man, in charge, the
Yeah,
final
I don't think he was
word.
necessarily saying the man itself,
oh,
but that there
no, no, no,
always
no,
was
no,
one.
no. He was saying the man needs to be in charge.
Yeah,
I,
he did. I mean, I really did hear it that way. Even and even if he was saying that one person has to be in charge, I just don't think that works. I know it would never work for me. That when I was first married to my first husband, and of course I call him my first husband because I he had to be in charge,
mm,
and he couldn't understand how to come together to make decisions. And
Right.
years later, when I read Stephen Covey's book, the 7 Habits of highly successful people, or whatever it was, that the one that he had that had the most impact on me was that couples shouldn't even compromise, but what they should do is come together. And people, not just couples, but people, what they should do is come together and reach toward a better scenario than the one they are disagreeing on.
right. Two
Agree.
minds are better than one.
Agree.
Yes,
100%.
exactly. So that we decide, and of course, and I understand what you were saying about that situation that you had where it was a legal thing and something had to be done, and so you decided but you did come to that decision regardless of the fact that it wasn't what you thought was the best, but you made a decision.
Right.
And when you can do that, then the relationship can go on. But I felt in that first marriage as if there were decisions that were being made, and I was opposed to them, and yet this was what was going to happen, and this was how it was going to go. Oh my God, I couldn't even swallow that.
I can see why he was, like you said, your first husband.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. And he was a really good man. I mean, he really was a very good man, and great, dad and all that. But I just, we just argued like crazy.
Well, Catherine, I have all girls. The thing that my girls will tell you every time about their dad, my husband did 20 years in the army, and he's very much a manly man, right?
Sure.
My husband changed diapers.
Yep.
My husband in uniform, if the girls would say, "Skip with us, Daddy,"
Yeah.
He would skip across the Walmart parking lot with them.
Yeah.
They talk to him about boys. You know what I mean? They look at their dad. Yet, does he have some hangups through military of like old school thinking? Yes, absolutely. But they respect that that's his thinking, and he respects that they don't see the world that way.
That's wonderful.
And
Yeah.
they're able to say, look, that's your belief system, and I'm totally okay with it, but that's not how I see the world. And he says, you know what? I understand that's your belief system, and I'm totally okay with it. My view is this. And, they can be respectful about it. And he doesn't see them as beneath him because they are his children or because they're women. And I
Right.
can't tell you how many times he has been able to become a better man because he listened to them and he looked at it and he went, oh my goodness, you're right. You're absolutely right. I didn't see that.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, we lost you, Catherine.
So we'll be wrapping up here. We started out very lighthearted. We got a little deeper than we were planning on going
Well,
today.
those last few were a little, those last few scriptures were a little much.
Yeah,
you know
but
what I mean?
everything happens for a reason. So we talked about what needed to be talked about, I guess.
Yeah.
We'll let Catherine come on here and finish her spot. Then we'll be wrapping up.
It's always that way, though. We'll start out an episode and then kind of maybe have an idea or a thought of where it's going, but it always goes exactly where it's needed to be. And
yeah, it has a life of its own, doesn't it?
It really does.
Mhm.
Yes,
really.
I think that's great. I really do think that's great. I wish I would have come in earlier and heard some of the silly things that you might have been talking about. But
Well, you can go because I think you follow us, don't you, Catherine?
yes, I do.
So you can, I believe you can go and look at, like, you can play this episode again, I think. So, you can go back on people you follow and you can like listen to, because some of them were very funny.
Yeah,
Some of them were very, 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 very funny. And, Mr. Space, I just want you to know that I totally respect your views and, where you're coming from.
Sure.
Your views are different than mine, but I believe every human has the right to believe as they choose. And I believe that we are put on this earth to speak our truth with no fear of judgment, and to allow others to accept it or not, and to just love people, whether or not we can, we agree with it. It doesn't matter. He's a man that took his time to come on here and to share his views. That is what works for his life. And each and every human has the right to believe as they choose.
Absolutely. 100%. I agree with you 100%. And I don't mean to sound as if I am putting his view down.
No, not at all.
Like you said, clearly it doesn't work for me. I proved that in my life. And actually I'm alone, single for many, many years. And I love it. I really love it. And I just kind of came to believe that perhaps I'm a little too independent and, don't need that kind of a relationship, because I just somehow that reaction to my first husband stayed that way in me. Then it actually almost became like a wall, like you're not going to cross this line. Do you know what I'm saying? I went from, from feeling like I have an equal voice to becoming militant about, my voice. So I do understand that that's not necessary either. That's not necessary.
So Catherine,
either.
we have a Reiki master here named Salvador who's single. Mm-hmm. And we love Salvador to death. He is an amazing human. Maybe we can introduce the two of you.
Oh, that would be lovely.
There you go. And Catherine,
you guys have a great day. Thank you so much.
Thank you
welcome,
for coming
honey.
on and speaking.
It's good to hear from you again, Catherine. Bye-bye. Well, as always, Laura, great talk.
Great talk, yes.
Great talk.
Yes, like you said, it spiraled a little different, but
though, honestly,
like we said, everything happens for a reason.
And it really, honestly, it just kind of goes into, and thank you to both of our guests today for coming on. And
it's actually sort of a lesson for me, because my personality I was ready to give Space Luchador my opinion, which
And
differs.
and
but
not and not in a polite and respectful manner.
Probably not in a polite and respectful manner, but I withheld. And again, I do respect that's, you live your life. I don't give a shit how you live your life.
It's none of my
you
business.
go on. But for somebody to come and tell me, no, that's not how it works. Everybody makes their own thing work, right?
There you go.
like our last guest, she found what makes her happy. So
There you go.
there we go.
Well, I hope all of you have a wonderful rest of your week. Until next time, love eternal, the Oracle.
And stand for truth, the warrior.
If you enjoyed this podcast and would like to help us keep it going, please consider donating to our Patreon account. You can use the link in the show notes.
You can also help us by subscribing and leaving a review on your favorite podcast platform. Reviews are how we grow our listenership.
If you have suggestions for topics that you would like us to cover or have any questions, please feel free to contact us at oracleandwarrior@gmail.com.
You can also check the show notes for all social media.